Good morning, friends. Nice to see you. Nice to see you arriving and signing in and greeting each other. Nice to be here for another week. Another chance, mostly just to sit together, lean in to the endless depth and the endless expanse of, of a life, being conscious, being confronted constantly. If we look for it, we're constantly confronted by our smallness. Just this little body, this little mind, I'm doing this little thing with these little concerns. Very small. 8 billion, nearly 8 billion beings on the planet. Nearly 8 billion humans on the planet. Countless billions and billions of other beings. And amidst all these billions and billions of beings, how small, how small our lives can be, reduced to the fixations on I and me and my. So human life that's on the one hand so small and so self-referential, and yet on the other hand, which simultaneously a life which is so vast, which is constructed of stardust, which has its existence in an infinite consciousness, a consciousness that's infinitely mysterious, infinitely possible, infinitely boundless. And that's where we find ourselves. That's where we find ourselves, between smallness and vastness, between limitation and possibility, between I, me and my, and the tendency to obsess around I, me and my, but also just the actual rightness and the need to take care of the stuff of I, me and my. And also when we just stop and slow down, when we just let the ahankara, the thoughts of I, me and my, the self-referential obsession, when we let that just soften a little bit, look at the opportunity we have again and again and again to see how I, me and mine really isn't what it's all about. That I, me and my captures the attention, but then it's also very fleeting, very ephemeral. Right? What is your existence when the thoughts of I, me and my soften and drop away? So here we are, friends, at this extraordinary, mysterious interface. Right? This is the interface with life, the interface between smallness and vastness, limitation and possibility, self and not self. So, there's a lot of paradox in that. And maybe, like me, you're struck. I don't know where you all are, right? But just reading down the list, Libby has just shown up from Cape Town, South Africa. But most of the people I've been reading about, most of us are somewhere in Europe. And I'll even be gracious enough to include the UK in Europe when I say Europe. And some of you are mentioning the spring, or the sunshine in Brussels, or the rainy morning in Hertfordshire, the wisteria blossoms that certainly all over France at the moment. It's the season of wisteria and these kind of incredibly, these intoxicatingly beautiful cascades of purple and white wisteria flowers all around where I live, and also in all throughout many neighbourhoods in Paris. And So there's one side of the paradox, just like we were saying, between smallness and vastness. We also might well feel like, this contrast, paradox between beauty of the world around us and then horror. Horror, while rockets are dropping and bombs are flying and people are living in fear and with deprivation and violence and cruelty and abuse. So whether we look to whether we look at the increasingly alarming and tragic and painful and sort of the terrible situation in the Middle East, or whether we look at the Ukraine, which has sort of dipped out of the news a little bit, right? It's interesting how the news cycle picks up something else, and Israel, Palestine has taken all the attention at the moment. Israel, Palestine, Iran has taken all the attention as if, there's also this terrible war happening in Ukraine. And then, there's all that's happening in the Yemen, and then there's all that's happening. And then it's just because the news cycle takes our attention. But hey, there's plenty of war. There's plenty of violence. There's plenty of horror. And, you yourself, in your current circumstances, you may be caught up in some personal great difficulty. You might be personally affected by some of those worldwide situations. I know some of you here have family, for example, in Israel. So, it's like and at the same time, like I wake up this morning, I look outside, I see the greening, growing of the trees. It's just the kind of the often the beauty of springtime, which is often so intense. It's like we can't take it in. And so that's another of these paradoxes. How do I make sense? Just like I can't make sense of simultaneously this small life, just little old me, human mind, human body, one of 8 billion humans, and this great sense of sharedness or vastness or inclusiveness or belonging. The same way, you can't really make sense of the constant interweaving of the beauty of the world and the tragedy or the horror or the violence of the world. So what do you do? What do we do? I think it's actually important to recognize that both are seemingly impossibly contradictory, right? How can I make sense of such beauty when I know there's such horror in the world? How can I make sense of such horror in the world when I see such beauty? And the fact is we can't make sense of them. And the reason we can't is they do belong. They just belong. It's like life's like this. Life is like this. Sometimes we're more pulled into one or the other. Sometimes our circumstances are more formed or shaped by one or the other. And when that's the case, it's also important to remember the other. When we get sucked, for example, into our own personal dramas, the stuff in I, me and my, it's important to remember there's more to life than just me and my problems. When we get pulled into the sort of depressing news cycle and the alarm and the fear or the anger about what's happening in the world, right, which are all understandable, it's important to remember, there's also peace, beauty, kindness, love. Equally, when we get pulled in, our senses get pulled into the beauty. Beautiful, important to drink that in without becoming kind of complacent or facile. Everything's beautiful. And remembering, life is made up of all of this, right? Inseparably made up of all of this. There has been never no day without night, no light without shade, no beauty without ugliness. These things that define each other. No life without death. So, we can try to understand that, but it's not really about understanding it. It's incomprehensible, actually, how those things, we can't understand. But this is where it gets metabolized, in the heart. The heart is what allows us to feel compassion in the face of horror and violence. The heart is what allows us to open and be nourished by beauty and pleasure. So, managing the paradoxes of life is the work of the heart. Managing these paradoxes is an invitation for us to lean in and feel. To lean in and feel without becoming overwhelmed. To lean in and feel without trying to make sense of it all. It's senseless. I mean, there's plenty of senseless violence and cruelty. And there's also plenty of senseless beauty. And I think that's an interesting framing. We're used to the idea of senseless violence. What about senseless beauty? It's like, why? Why are the trees so green? Why is the springtime birdsong so beautiful? Why does the wisteria cascade in such intoxicating, exquisite patterns? Right? Is why the right answer? No. So that's maybe just the sort of thought or reflection for this morning. It's like not trying to make sense of that which is incomprehensible, rather letting the heart meet it. But the heart doesn't mean just the sentimental heart. The sentimental heart easily gets overwhelmed, carried away, lost in a kind of indulgent form of beauty, or as me and my, or lost in ideas about the horror of the world and what it means and who's to blame, etc. So all of that might need some attention in our lives, but not in this moment. In this moment, heart. Responding and not getting caught in the sentiment of why and what it means about me, what it means for me. So friends, let's sit and meditate together, practice together, lean the heart into the paradox and the totality. And chanting is a good way into that. Right. So what might we chant? We'll just chant Om Mani Padme Hum, I think. Simple. A few minutes of chanting as a way actually to kind of relax into just the heart's response. Relax into, and so that means during the chant, just heart and sound. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Just letting yourself be touched by the sound and the rhythm. Right? And same thing, we're not trying to make sense of it, not worrying about what the words mean. Just leaning into the sound and the rhythm and the heart's expression. And then a few minutes of chanting, then some sitting, and I'll give a little orientation to this quality, right, of just the heart welcoming and metabolizing it all. So please take your seat for meditation. Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Or settling into meditation. Settling into the smallness and simplicity of being here, these bodily sensations, this feel of breathing, these flickering thoughts. And also settling into the vastness of being here. Into the ungraspable mystery of being conscious. Into the edgeless, boundless sense of awareness. Settling into the direct immediacy of being here. We just keep letting go of the tendency to reach for something or resist something. And we keep feeling for the capacity just to let things be like this. And we cultivate the heart's response. A sense of our consciousness as a place of welcome. Welcoming the brief appearance of this breath, this sound, this sensation, this thought, this memory. Making room in the heart for life. How does the heart meet this moment? How does your heart receive this breath? How might your heart both enter into what's happening and expand around what's happening? Just like this. At the center of the free heart's engagement, a free heart's receptivity, a free heart's meeting with experience, is the quality of relaxation. Relax. Relax your face. Relax your breath. Relax your shoulders and arms and hands. Relax your belly. Let everything happen by itself. What if your heart was undemanding? Letting go of how things could or should be different. What if your heart was undefended? Creating no ill will or rejection or defiance. What if your heart was undistracted? Letting yourself really be present. This is the heart that dissolves contradictions, that includes paradoxes. A heart that's undemanding, undefended, undistracted. This is the heart of meditation. Don't try to imagine or figure out the heart's response. Rather, just relax into what's happening, into the feel of this breath, and to the fleetingness of each passing sound, and to the simple feel of body sitting, and to whatever arises and passes. Moment by moment, meeting, experience, receiving life, allowing everything, letting it all rise and fall, surge and fade. Without friction, without fuss, without fear. This is the melting of the heart, the confidence of the heart. The openness and steadiness of the heart. Last few minutes of the sitting. May we all have the courage to orientate to the inseparability of beauty and pain. May we all have the capacity to care for both. May we all know the aliveness of a free heart. That was meditation. For those of you who know Priya, look, here she is. It's been a long time. But she hasn't been around for morning meditation, so... Okay, she's not very interested in you lot, but there she is anyway. Alright, so a little time for questions you may have. Maybe ways in which either this juxtaposition, this paradox in the world, in your own life, whatever ways any of that is impacting or raising questions, not so much sort of philosophical questions or world events type questions, but heart questions. How's your heart? How's your heart in the midst of all this? How's your heart today? How does your heart get caught? How can the heart be met? How can the heart open up? It's the best chance we've got for navigating the inevitable beauty and the inevitable pain in the world is with a free heart. That's for sure. And just before we get into the questions, just a very brief reminder that all of this starts Sangha Live, us gathering together, that it all turns on the wheel of goodwill, generosity, mutual support, and dana. So, as far as I understand from Sangha Live, the engagement here is really great. Pretty consistently, a couple of hundred people in the morning. But I also have the sense that the dana has been sort of dropping away, and that might be for a variety of reasons. But it does make things precarious at Sangha Live for just managing the monthly overheads that are quite extensive, just because it's quite a big operation now, involving people doing all kinds of different jobs, from building the website and managing the tech and moderating the chats and hosting the classes and scheduling with teachers and corresponding with everybody and so if you feel able to, moved to offer dana in some way, then please know that's a vital support for Sangha Live. It's a support for me as well as a teacher this week. And it's a support for anyone and everyone who can then show up here and, like all of us, and kind of have access to teachings, practices, interactivity, sangha, etc. So thank you, and I think George will probably, there it is, right on cue. There's the link to offer dana posted in the chat. All right, let me go back to. Where are the questions? Vanya, that's a reflection. Vanya. Every time I brought my attention to the heart, my heart rate sped up and I felt anxious. and then needed to attempt to relax again and again because my thinking went straight to a shattered relationship. Yeah, how to get out of this loop? Maybe getting out of the loop isn't the most important thing, Vanya. Right? Maybe actually just caring. Right. So, like you say, attempt again and again. That's what practice is. Again and again. So again and again. If you come to your heart, you notice that it speeds up and is anxious because you're still processing the grief of this shattered relationship, and yet you can come to that anxiety with a sense of capacity just to soften, care, settle, and then, but you need to do that again and again. That's what practice is. Again and again, just again and again, we come to the fact that we've gotten in some way fixated, or we've gotten tight, or we've gotten distracted, or we've gotten into some drama, and then again and again, recognizing that and relaxing around it and regaining some sense of ease or space, even if it's very small. Short moments, many times. That's what practice is. Short moments, many times. And that's how you metabolize, right? That grief or the pain of that shattered relationship, by recognizing the grip and just hanging out there gently, softening the grip, caring for it, and then you'll find increasingly you go there, and the anxiety diminishes, or at least it becomes easier, quicker, more obvious how to metabolize that or relax around that anxiety. Yeah. Malin, is it? Malin says, when the pain in life is big, i.e. due to illness, I find it hard to be able to see the beauty. Any thoughts on this? Make that a practice. Make that a practice. It's springtime. So beautiful. I remember when spring of 2020, and I was in bed for 2 months with COVID. It was really quite severe, and my organs weren't working properly, and I couldn't go 5 meters from my bed to the bathroom without resting in between. And it was really, my breath was very, very uncomfortable and difficult. And it was exactly this time of year, right? April. It's like so beautiful. I look out my window and I was, really felt like I didn't know what was going on, but I felt in some way like I was dying. I didn't get to that conclusion, but that was the feeling, just incredible weakness and discomfort and unavailable breath. And then the beauty of the world, the beauty of the springtime, the beauty of birdsong. So it's like, when things are particularly difficult, illness you mentioned, or other source of great difficulty, it's even more important to orientate to beauty, right? So what's a source of beauty for you? Maybe it's nature, like I say, springtime. Maybe it's listening to music. Maybe it's taking pleasure or having appreciation for some simple thing that you can do despite your illness, right? Like, if you can walk, don't take that for granted, We've had the experience maybe of breaking your leg ever, and then suddenly you can't walk, and then you realize how precious and amazing it is to walk, and how easily one just takes it for granted. So, look for the beauty where it is. It's not a denial of the difficulty and the pain. It's a sort of balancing factor. So you don't just get pulled into a vortex of pain and the vortex, especially of the drama that we make around the pain. All right. Eleanor, sometimes I think I keep my heart too open. Too much makes a big impact, good and bad, and it's too much. How do you keep an open heart and also protect yourself at the same time? Yeah. So that's what I was saying about the sentimental, right? We tend to we tend to be sentimental with the heart, and then there's a kind of, we get into the drama of, oh, this is beautiful, oh, I love it, oh my goodness, it's so great, oh, I want to tell everyone about it, oh, how can I make it laugh, etc. And then, oh, this is so terrible, and then the drama of who's to blame, and why is it like this, why is it happening to me, why now, why like this, why, whoa, that's exhausting, right? So when I'm talking about the heart, what we like in the way we were exploring in meditation, it's a quality of free heart, quality of relaxing around, making room for, not buying into the drama of. So actually the sense of really allowing the heart to be open and to feel is the sense of the heart being transparent. You feel it all, but it doesn't get stuck. You feel it all, but it doesn't get channeled into drama. So that would be the reflection. What would it be like to feel it all and for it not to get stuck? Wide open heart, transparent heart, unsentimental heart. And we're afraid if I'm going to be unsentimental, I'll be unfeeling. But it's not true. When we're unsentimental, we become much, much more deeply feeling, but without creating drama. So I don't know if that's helpful, but I think that's the direction. What's the heart that's deep feeling and yet unsentimental? And if you want a way to look for that, like I said in the meditation, relaxation. Relax the drama. The unsentimental heart, the deep feeling heart, the free heart has a flavour to it of a kind of quietness, like honey, as if honey was running down through the chest, warm, golden, gentle. All right. Oh, there's a lot of questions. How are we doing? Eleanor, how can I stay in the heart with a neighbour who's a very intense energy when speaking? That really disturbs me and makes me freeze. He transfers so much anxiety. Yeah. Very, very short interactions. Maximum sincerity, you care for, you wish well, but you realise, wow, this guy is really intense. Some people are very, like energetically incontinent. Their energy leaks out, especially that kind of sort of intense kind of either the energy that has a lot of narcissistic pull to it, that's pulling for attention or pulling for empathy, right? Or that it's got a lot of nervous energy, anxious energy to it. So, two things. One, just limiting your interactions, because it's if you're sensitive, it's really unpleasant to be confronted with that, and you can go home feeling kind of like not just impacted, but almost infected by it. The other thing, the transparency I was just mentioning in response to Eleanor, right? Transparent. It's like and maybe add a third element to that. Just being really clear. This is not mine. This is not mine. And so actually, this might sound a little. Maybe the transparency is enough, and if not, try this. Even though it might sound a little contradictory, it's almost to imagine a kind of force field around you, right? It's like, and this space is filled with my own steadiness, good in heart, clear intention, etc. And whatever's coming from this kind of weird, overly impactful person, you're just letting it kind of let it sort of slipstream around. And that might sound a little convoluted, but actually there's a quite simple way to do that, and it can be very effective, right? You're standing in your own sphere of awareness, you're standing in your own sphere of experience, and this person's like all this stuff, and you're consciously imagining it all going by, and you're limiting the time of your interaction. So you can be sincere, you can be connective, but you also be brief. Oh yeah, I get that, okay. Get out as soon as possible. And it might mean, because the person is a little overbearing and transferring all this anxious energy, it might mean that you need to learn or to practice the actual standing up, saying you're done and getting out, right? more than your tendency might be. Tendency might be to be too polite, too nice, too accommodating, and therefore you get kind of rolled over or steamrolled, kind of overly impacted by all of that. So that might be a challenge, right? To actually see how can you stand up and extricate yourself from the situation quickly. You know? Yeah, I've also had a neighbour like that. I've had to learn how to do that with, like, just, and then the neighbour gets the pattern. Oh, okay, Martin isn't really available for long. Available, warm, connective, etc. But in and out. Yeah. Otherwise, the more you stay there, the more the neighbour gets here's somebody, Eleanor's somebody that I can kind of like, keep pulling at or keep dumping onto. And, that's not healthy for them or for you long term. So, learn to get in and out. All right. Tamara. When someone disappoints me, how do I keep my heart open? Stop the obsession and remind myself that I don't need to be part of others' drama. Well, it's mostly then when somebody disappoints you, keeping your heart open. What are you keeping your heart open to? Right, we're keeping it open to pain, disappointment, grief, hurt. Oh, that's not easy, huh? So, might need to be short moments. So that, like we were saying earlier with Eleanor, so that you don't get overwhelmed by the drama of why they did it and how they did it and why does this always happen to me and well, is it ever going to change and will I ever find somebody who doesn't disappoint me? Whoa, then you're in the vortex. You can't digest all of that. What you can digest, this is painful and it's familiar. Oh, how is it familiar? Oh, it's familiar because I feel like it's happened before. Oh, yeah. Oh, that feels very young. Right, disappointment, rejection. Usually, the way we get into that usually has its seeds in a much earlier disappointment. So as you just touch into that, you might make sense. Oh, is there any kind of imagery or memories or associated feelings that go with that? And just to sense how you can be very tender and forgiving, and forgiving. That doesn't necessarily mean forgiving of the one who disappointed you. I mean, ultimately, yes, that too. But it might be that first it's more forgiving of your own, forgiving of yourself that you find yourself in this condition again. Yeah. Anything to do with pain, it's important to be tender-hearted, And that's a practice, the practice of being tender-hearted rather than constricting around the pain or rejecting the pain or getting pulled into the drama around the why and the how of the pain. Yeah. Tenderness is the answer to most troubles of the heart. How to dissolve the troubles of the heart with tenderness. All right, let's see. Last one. From Jonathan. My mind seems preoccupied with a work situation where somebody else made a mistake and I also made a mistake. Worried and at times sometimes scared. Aware of the noble truth, but this doesn't seem to help. No, the noble truths might not be enough. The heart's fear of criticism or conflict with others. Do you have any advice? Wow. So, I'm not sure which Jonathan this is. If you're the Jonathan, I think you are Jonathan, then just, knowing you. But actually, even if I just refer to the text, right, you're going a lot to the scenario, the mistake and how and what might happen, and so you just need to find a way to de-escalate that, because all the going around and around and around it doesn't change the situation. It just escalates the sense of drama. Right? So actually, I would say to come when you find yourself going, before you get into that loop, because the danger is we say, oh, I know I don't want to get into this loop, but let me think about it a bit and then I'll stop. Oh no, and then you're just pulled into the vortex. So when you find yourself going down that road, stop and come back to something really simple like your belly, or your legs, or your feet are here. The simple truth is somebody made a mistake and you made a mistake and you don't know what the consequences yet of that mistake are going to be. That's a simple truth. Right? There are some circumstances that would be less pleasant or less easy than others. But like, when we get into the vortex, we lose the simple truth, and we get into the convoluted truth, right? The dramatic truth, the soap opera truth. So coming back, how can you come back to the simple truth? Feet. I made a mistake. Oh, and I feel badly about it. And somebody else made a mistake. I don't know what's going to happen yet. And because I don't know what's going to happen, oh, there I go. Like, that's how you titrate, right? How you come out of the vortex. So just something really simple. So even now, while you're listening to me say this, just orientating to our legs. Feel your legs. Your legs don't do drama. Drama tends to happen from about here up. Down there, things are much less dramatic. All right, friends. Thank you for your practice and your presence and your kind attention to each other. Yeah. See you tomorrow. Please go tenderly through the day.